Welcome, people. Just getting the webinar started, and then we will roll into content real soon, doing some introductions. So probably let's give folks a minute or so to filter in. Had quite a bit of interest in a course copy webinar. So we're expecting some decent turnout for this one. Interesting. I see some names I recognize, but there's a lot of you out there that I don't recognize, which means I'm guessing you're in the trenches course copying and are or have experienced course copy fun with Harmonize in the past and are here. So for those that I do know, good to see you all. Welcome to summertime, where hypothetically life is calmer, although hasn't proven to be the case yet. But sometime soon. All right, let's get started with introductions. We'll respect people's time. So for those that don't know, I'm Marcus, one of the owners of Harmonize. I'm in charge of product and support and marketing and sales, but that means I don't actually do the work. I have wonderful people to support me, and that's the two people I have with me today in this particular area. Eric is our head of all things support. Eric, anything you'd like to add to that? Emperor of support, King of support? I forget what we call you.
All of those titles work for me, Marcus. I appreciate it. I'm the person who runs support here at Harmonize, and I do see a lot of names I recognize. So hello and welcome. If we haven't met before, yeah, Eric Brown, run things at Harmonize. I run, well, not everything. Marcus runs things at Harmonize, but I do run support. So if you have any questions, I like to recommend that long before you get frustrated, even if you're just have a mild concern, you have any kind of question, reach out to us, support at harmonizelearning.com. Me and my team will be happy to help out.
Yeah. Eric is the one that makes our support beloved. And then Andrew is the person who makes all the product stuff happen. So Andrew and I are the two that put our brains together. Eric brings us all of the complaints, concerns, feature requests, etc. from support. We couple that with everything else. And then Andrew is the person that runs all of our product teams. So he is the one that takes an idea that he and I brainstorm on and then turns it into the 7,000 little obnoxious details that have to happen to make it work. So Andrew, anything to add to that?
No, just happy to be here. Excited to show you some of the stuff we have planned for the future.
Cool. All right, so I'm going to do a little intro. Originally, we were like, we just need to teach people about the course copy edge cases that we see, how to be more successful with course copy. But as we started picking apart all of those things and documenting them, Eric was like, "Can you please make it so those things go away?" And and so Andrew and I started talking, and Andrew pulled together a bunch of details on how we can make our course copy more powerful as well. So originally, when we first advertised this webinar, it was going to be purely educational. Here are the things that are complicated about course copy. We're still going to cover those in brief so you can get a feel for when course copy works well, how to stay safe over the next month or two. But then Andrew is going to then shift into showing you some features we're bringing out to be able to make course copy more powerful so that some of the edge cases that you may run into from time to time don't hit you. I like to say, like, when we're looking at our support tickets, like, our course copy works about 99.9% of the time, but when it doesn't, boy, is it a pain in the neck. So if any of you out there that are in this webinar have suffered upon I had course copy, I copied it out to 17 things, and now I'm out fixing a bunch of course copies. That happens rarely, but it does happen. And so we're going to cover some of the cases to stay away from those in the next few months, but also show you ways to fix those. I have a help doc that outlines a bunch of the different scenarios that we have found to be, or not we, but Eric's team have found to be most common support requests, and the things where we're like, wait, you copied from what to what to what to what? And then, and so I'll have a doc I'll share with you where you can consume after the fact as well. But I would say the big rule of course copy until Andrew releases the features he's working on is get your entire course ready, get it just the way you want it, and then copy it out. Cases other than that work most of the time, but if you're really trying to be safe in the next month or two, that would be my rule of thumb. I'm going to oversimplify and give to you, which is get the whole course ready and copy it out. The sort of behind the scenes things that causes us grief and we've mostly been able to accomplish and deal with, but not always, and this is why course copy doesn't work well for a lot of LTI tools over the years, is that when Canvas or Blackboard or Moodle or any of the LMSs copy a course, they don't tell us. They don't tell the LMS provider what you're copying. They just the LTI provider what you're copying. They don't tell Harmonize, hey, user copied assignment one from this course into that course. They just tell us, if they tell us anything, they tell us course A copied to course B, even if you only copied one thing from course A to course B. And then it's on us to figure out what you meant. And we have a lot of complicated code to figure out what you meant. That is why it's mostly successful, why we do decently well at this. But when it doesn't work, that's where the problem arises. And so the other option there is that it doesn't even tell us you copied it all. And then you go into one of those courses and launch it, and we go, aha, they must have copied this course. And then we scramble like mad. Andrew's team has features that scramble with like mad to make sure that we're copying things over and doing the right thing. And so while you would think that the LMS would tell Harmonize, like, hey, they copied 3 assignments from course A to course B, make it so, um, then that's not actually what happens. And Mary asked a question in the chat that I'll answer. So to clarify, the source course is what I'm talking about getting ready. So if you're a Canvas school, that means, get the blueprint ready or get your template course ready. If you're not a Canvas school, get the master course or the source course ready. Don't copy one assignment and then go fix something and copy the next assignment and go fix something and then copy the next assignment. Get the whole source course ready and then copy it. Because as I said, the LMS isn't going to tell us you just copied one thing. It's going to tell us to copy everything. And that's where a lot of these edge cases end up becoming problematic. I'm going to drop a doc into the chat. I would encourage you not to try to read it while we're going through this webinar too much, but I want you to have like Eric's team got together with Alex, who does a lot of our documentation, and they pulled this together as well. So let me paste this into everyone. Here it is. And so, and Linda voiced this, and this is why I think a lot of you may already be in this mode of do full course copies, which is probably why it works so well, because most third-party tools don't work well unless you do the whole course copy. But our doc here outlines certain things that you'll run into, and these are all prioritized by Eric and his team of like, here's what we'd like you to do, make sure you get it ready to go and then copy it. But then also some scenarios of when it doesn't work really well, and how does it go through and work with things, et cetera. So lots of complexity there. Take this doc, sit on it a little bit, think about it, but I'm actually going to turn it over to Andrew now, because when we're looking at all of these, what it amounts to is that we're not explicit with you. Like you copy a course and or you go in and modify the source course, we don't try to help you out. We try to guess. We don't give you the power to say exactly what you meant. And so Andrew has actually pulled together some features that act a lot like Canvas blueprints, to where it's like if you're operating in something in Harmonize, let me actually define Canvas blueprints for those that are not Canvas users. Canvas has this feature called blueprints, which is I've modified the source course and I've made a change and I want to push it out to all of the existing course copies because I had a typo in module 1 and I need to take that typo and have it go to all of the courses I've already copied so that I don't have to go to 2,700 courses and fix a typo. I just want to fix it in the parent course. That's called Canvas blueprint. I'm oversimplifying to some degree, but it's this idea that once you've modified the source course and copied it out, it's not necessarily done. You can go back to the source course and push changes again out to those copies of the courses. So that's called Canvas Blueprint. So if you hear me slip up and just say, this is like Canvas Blueprints, that's what I mean. We are extending this functionality into Harmonize. The idea that like, look, if you're editing a Harmonize activity, a single activity at this point, and we detect that there are copies, we're now going to let you tell us which ones to push those changes out to. We're going to give you the option to say, yes, ask, select all if you want, copy it out, that's great, or pick and choose which ones you want it to copy out to so that you have that absolute control over things as well. And then there's some ancillary features that Andrew's going to go through that cover some of the other cases of like copy within course, et cetera. But we're trying to basically extend that same Canvas blueprint functionality, that master course down to children, out to all LMSs and out to Canvas users as well. So if you're in a blueprint and have already copied things, we are now going to let you tell us, no, I didn't mean it. I need to push the changes again as we go. So hopefully that wasn't too confusing. Do I have any questions on the problem we're trying to solve before I turn it over to Andrew, because he's going to walk through the mockups he's handing out to the developers as a goal. So if you want to raise your hand, you can ask a question on voice. You can put your questions in chat. Um, the thing that we're soliciting here is twofold. One is to share information for you so you can see what's coming. We don't have an exact release date on these, but the developers are literally picking it up this week and starting on it. And if you're very familiar with those, you know that probably means 6 weeks, 8 weeks, something like that. Hand wave over detail. Andrew always winces when I actually start naming weeks. I don't know if you saw the eye twitch there, but something along those lines. We will be in communication through our general release channels and when this actually goes live. But we're looking to share this with you so you know what's coming, but also when you see these, if you see something that looks wrong or doesn't give you the power you need to fix your course copy concerns, this is the time to chime in. And we are recording this, but the guy who knows how to take recording, David, and actually send them out is going to be going to a conference. So the recording probably won't come out to Monday. So you can always share this with colleagues and share the recording and say, this is what they're releasing. Does anyone have any additional complex feedback on those things? And go from there. So, Andrew, anything overview-wise that you think I missed before you roll into screen sharing and walking through things?
No, it sounds good.
Okay, let me put one more caveat in here in that we've started using, Andrew and I are quick prototyping now. So the prototype he's going through will look almost exactly like Harmonize, but we are using AI to build our pictures. So if you see something that looks a little different that is irrelevant to what we're talking about as a feature, don't fixate on it. It's just we didn't bother to make our prototypes look 100%, or maybe Andrew did, but I generally don't when I'm going through this. So what he's doing is just pictures that are wired together to look active. The developers are going to be building the real thing, but we're really interested in your feedback on this. Does this functionality seem like it's the right level of complexity for what you need to make course copy work better? So, Andrew, over to you.
All right. I'm going to turn off my video because my monitors don't face the camera. I don't want you looking at my side profile. All right, so to tee up the first thing that we're looking at, as Marcus mentioned, one of the problems we typically see is when instructors or IDs start to get organized around courses, they generally like to work with a template where they can get things right, and then they can push that template out to a lot of live courses. That works great when you do that copy once, but if you start running those courses and you realize, you know what, something's off in this setup, right? I meant to set up my milestones this way and they're not quite right, or oops, there's a typo in the instructions. I just want to push that back out. Today, oftentimes you have to go to each of those individual courses to make those edits, which is no fun. Or if it's large enough, it's just completely untenable. Now what we're going to do is when you come into a discussion or social reading or any of your Harmonize assignments, when you come in here, we're going to check and see, have there been copies made of this particular assignment? And if so, we're going to start displaying this little checkbox down here. It'll stay unchecked by default. So if you just come in, you make some edits and you publish, everything will act normal. But if you know, hey, this is a template and I really want this change to go out to all of my live courses, what you can do is you can check this checkbox, click publish. Your template course will save right then and there like normal. But now what it'll do is it'll look at all your copies and say, okay, which of these copies have due dates that are out in the future? We don't have any students participating in them. And then it also will let you know who the last person was to have edited that particular assignment. And all of this is trying to put the courses in front of you that we think are the most likely safe things to go push to. If you get into a situation where you know you need to push to more courses, we do offer filters up here for showing courses where students have already started participating or stuff that is in the past. You can choose those, but by default, we're just going to give you this list of courses. If you're unsure about which of these courses is the correct one, you can always click on one of these courses and it'll open up that discussion or that assignment in a new tab so you can double check. But if this list looks good, you can just go ahead and select all of them. And then you come down here and you can click Overwrite Settings. We're just going to remind you that, hey, we're going to take all of those settings. So all of the instructions, all the milestone settings, all of the visibility settings, everything in there. And we're going to push that out to or those courses that you checked. And so they'll essentially be duplicates. If you're good with all that, you can just click Overwrite Settings, and then bam. And speaking of prototypes not being 100% correct, this would actually take you out to your discussion, but because this is a prototype, it's just cycling back to the beginning. So yeah, so we think that a lot of times you may not even see this particular checkbox. If you're not working with a template course, you just won't be there. But anytime you're in that situation where you're like, I really wish that I could just push a small change out to all the different copies I have, you'll have the ability to go do that.
We are showing this one in context of a discussion, but this applies to all Harmonize activities when possible. So think social annotations, think Harmonize pages. If you have the new accessibility package, you also have a page, so you could use page content in the same way to be able to push changes out to page content and such. So this is applied to the whole thing. Micah asked a very smart question. Andrew, how does that function? If groups are enabled, does it just ignore those settings in the section?
It's a really good question. So if you have set your assignment up for group visibility, what it's going to do is it's going to note the name of the group set, and then it's going to push that name over to all of your live courses or any of the copies. And this is kind of how course copy works today, where whenever you do a course copy, the actual group set doesn't get copied over to the new course. Gets a new ID, gets all that. So Harmonize is already smart enough that if you had a group set that was called Week 1 Discussion Group, it's going to try and match or look for and match a group set with the same name over in the destination course. So as long as your group set names match up, it won't be a problem. It'll just push through, and then it'll fix whatever linkages it needs to on the other end.
And I'm curious, Micah, does that work for you? Because we had a long, oh, I see, if the group sets are set only in the child course. And you probably, I guess then the question there is, do you have group visibility set, but just no group set selected at the parent, or not?
So the way that this is going to work is the way that it would work in course copy in general. So like I said, when you have a discussion or some other assignment set to group visibility today and you course copy it, we'll try and do a matchup between group set name, but if we can't, we'll still maintain the group visibility setting, and then we'll remind you whenever you go into that particular assignment, like, hey, you need to help us go pick a group set to work with on this particular assignment. So it should work in a way that doesn't get anyone stuck.
So I'm going to go back. There's a couple different questions that came in. I'm going to touch on something Geneva said because we weren't being clear enough here. Geneva says, is it possible to separate the due date from the rest of the changes? For example, we often adjust due dates and may need to adjust settings or instructions. Due date is the one thing we're not pushing, correct, Andrew? Because that's controlled by the platform. Help me out here.
Yes, yeah, it's not something that ever comes over in course copy. We always rely on your LMS to get those dates, except for Moodle, and in that case, you just have to go set a date in Harmonize. So yeah, you can have totally separate dates in all of your copied courses, and it will not adjust those dates. So everything will come over just fine.
On the Moodle case, actually, are there any Moodle people in the room before I dwell on Moodle? Let me know. I'm going to go to another question, then we'll come back to Moodle. So for filtering, the Heather was mentioning, Andrew, that let me actually just read the comment versus getting it wrong. Other example, in their case, they leave templates as having no due date, so it would be a helpful filter because we had in your template included the due date in as a thing that you could just see, but not filter by. So the request here is, I think, could we hide, add another filter that is hide things without due dates? Because I think Heather's business flow is that those are all templates probably. If they don't have a due date, they're not a real course. I'd like to be able to hide those, select all, and go on. Heather, correct me if that is incorrect. Okay, so we'll take that one back and see if we can add a filter for that. I think that's a reasonable thing. To give you an extra filter, it probably will be showing you the default as it is now, and you would have to hide them because I don't think everybody follows that business case, but it does make sense to me that like things without due dates may fall into a different category that you're not ready to publish yet. Linda made a nice clarification and just to make sure everyone understands how our multiple due dates or our milestones work. The multiple due dates are always relative to the due date. So if you have one post due 4 days before the due date and 2 comments due on the due date, and you change that to one post 5 days before the due date, that's fine. We will push out that to all of your courses. And because all of our due dates are relative to the individual due date of the assignment or even for the student, those will just work. So if you adjusted all of your due dates and you realized, oh no, they all should be 5 days before, or they should be two posts, 4 days before, those changes will push cleanly because we make those relative to the due date. So those will be fine as well. You won't have to go in and try to reset due dates and try to line up milestone dates differently. It will just work. Okay, there's a bunch of different questions coming in. Chris asked a question, and this is another good one. I would love it if updating a harmonized rubric, that it automatically updates the Canvas rubric. I've had issues when updating a rubric and adding the new one to Canvas in the parent shell. The old rubric showed up in the copied course. And I don't know is that, Chris, if you can clarify for us either in voice or in chat, are you generating the rubric in Harmonize with the rubric builder and then it copies out to Canvas, or are you generating a Canvas rubric in the parent shell and using standard course copy to get that Canvas parent out? And then Andrew, my question, which I actually don't know the answer to, is if they do have a rubric attached to this and they modify the rubric and push that rubric out to the children with this feature, and we have the Canvas sync to push the rubric into Canvas, will those changes then push into the Canvas rubric?
I believe that's the intention. The way to think about this is it's like you're pressing save or pressing publish on each of those copied courses without having to go in and manually set all of the settings. So if your original setup was you had built a rubric in Harmonize and then you had copied and then you realize that there's an issue with that, you could update the rubric in the parent and then choose your copies to overwrite those changes in, and Harmonize should do the right thing. It'll update its own copy and then also push those changes to the Canvas rubric that it's linked to.
Linda made a good clarification on that, though, that Canvas doesn't let rubrics change that have been used. And I don't know if that is applicable only to the current semester or if they've been used in previous semesters. Does that also lock it? I don't have the depth of knowledge of Canvas to be able to answer that.
So this is a thing today. So you are correct. If you built the rubric in Harmonize and synced it over to Canvas and then you started grading, if Canvas would not allow the rubric to be updated because it says it's already been used, Harmonize won't successfully save. So we'll make sure that it ends up doing the right thing. But this is a thing today that if you try to make updates in a discussion and we have trouble saving back to Canvas, we let you know about it, so that you can either discard the changes or make an appropriate update. But the goal here is that we're not going to do anything that either breaks Canvas or breaks the assignments. We don't want to ever put stuff in a state that isn't working. So I'm sure there's going to be a bunch of fun details when we actually develop this, but yes, we'll do our best to do the right thing.
Starting next week, Peter will have a lot of complicated questions for you.
I'm sure, and I'll have to go do some digging, but yes.
Eric, I'm sorry, go ahead.
The rule of thumb, like I said, is we're not trying to do anything truly magic here. We're just trying to save you as many clicks as we can. So again, if you're trying to make a change, we don't want you to have to go to every single child course to make that change individually. We'd like you to be able to just automate it, but we can't do that at the expense of doing something Harmonize wouldn't normally do.
Eric, you were watching the chat too. I think I caught everything that came through in the chat.
You did. If you missed something, I definitely would have interrupted you.
Okay, cool.
Good to go.
So I think more questions welcome. The thing that Andrew's going to pivot to now is, what if I clicked the button and oops, that wasn't right. So Andrew, if you want to jump to your version history stuff, this is we've let you bulk push changes. We need a way for you to save yourself if that went really poorly because you clicked the wrong courses, selected the wrong courses and pushed those changes out. And this is applicable not just if you're doing the bulk copy, but this is something that I'm sure people have stumbled upon where they publish something and we're like, oh no, help, type of thing. So Andrew, if you want to detail what this is now.
So today, Harmonize does actually keep a running history of any time that you've updated settings in your assignments. But we just haven't had a mechanism for showing you that version history or doing anything meaningful with it. So with push, we recognize that even though we try to let you know and help you make an informed decision, there's always going to be times when either something gets fat fingered or you thought you were pushing the right change, but it wasn't the thing that you wanted. Or an instructor comes in and is like, that doesn't look like the right settings. I want to go back to the set that I had before. So what we're going to do is when you're on settings, and again, we're showing discussion here, but this would apply to all the different Harmonized assignment types. Just like you'd see in posts and comments, we're going to have a menu button up in this top right, and we're going to have a version history. And what this is going to show, it's going to show all the different times that settings have been published for this particular assignment. So if you're looking at this going, yep, I see someone who wasn't me publish something on this discussion, I really would like to go back to a previous version, you can click this restore button. And it's just going to let you know that any pending changes that you have there are going to be lost, and are you okay with that? And if you are, you can click discard, draft, and restore. And what it's going to do is it's going to take that previous version and it's going to put all of those settings back in front of you. So you can look through this. You can go through all the different tabs and make sure that this is the right set of settings that you want. If you want to make a change from here, you could also do that too. If this was not the version that you want, you can also come back to version history and say, whoops, it wasn't that one on May 14th. It was actually this one back in March that I think I want. You can switch to a different version. And again, you can come back and review this. And then at the end of it, you can either abandon everything, just say discard this, and it'll just take you back out to the main screen. Or if this is the version that you want, you can go ahead and click publish. And it's going to take all of those settings and make that the new live set. So this should help if there's ever an issue with push, or we get this from time to time that says, hey, I was working on some setting updates and I totally wiped out my instructions, my mistake. Can I get those back? Now you'll have a way to go back and do that. And this will be available on all the different things, and it doesn't have to be used in conjunction with course copy. It just happens to work really well with course copy.
Just to clarify what Andrew said there, since Abby asked the question out in the chat, when we say settings, we mean instructions and all rubrics and all attachments to those instructions and all visibility settings and milestone settings. Anything you can get to in any of these tabs is what we consider settings. It's part of the topic setup, the topic instructions, the topic configuration as well. So yes, if your instructor did come through and delete 3 paragraphs of their instructions and we're like, oh no, it's not super obvious that there's a little kebab menu in a version history because we don't want to confuse people with version history if they're not that person that needs it. But if they contact us, we'll shoot them a help guide, or you're welcome to let them know there's now going to be a version history. Go pick the one you want, restore, make sure it's the one you want, publish as you go. And they can't really lose anything because even if they delete it and then they come restore the next one, it just becomes another version in the chain. So they could always revert back to the thing that they just had if they wanted as they go through. All right. Any questions on this other than yay, which is good to hear. So we like yay features. All right. So the next thing is kind of in the same category, but not. But when Eric was like, look, if you could make all of these people happy who have course copy issues, that would be amazing. The last thing that we get asked for a lot is, hey, I have my module 1 discussion working, and I really don't want to set that up for my remaining 6 discussions in this course. I just want to copy that. I'm going to modify the instructions and publish it. And I'm going to copy it again and modify the instructions and publish it. Canvas doesn't allow this currently. Everybody thinks they can get it to work, and then they go through all kinds of Rube Goldberg situations to make it work. They copy it out to another course, copy it back in, et cetera. They inevitably cause themselves a lot of grief. Because what they end up with is multiple links to the same exact version. The worst case is when they copy module 1 to module 2, and then they change it, and then they copy to module 3 and they change it, and they do that 6 times only to realize they are modifying the exact same discussion every time, and then their heads explode. And then Eric has to talk them off the ledge and work with them. So Andrew's going to demo something now that is not quite course copy, but we're calling it duplication. Because we want you to be able to take something that you really love and duplicate it either within your course or from another course. But it's subtly different than copy, and Andrew can maybe touch on that when he goes through here.
Yeah, so just to echo what Marcus said, this is not going to, we still do not want you to use the copy functions that let you duplicate assignments inside the same course. That can't work. We can't fix that. That's a limitation on the LMS side that we can't fix. But what we can do is if you have something in your course that you really like, you don't really want to go through the hassle of having to set it up a bunch of different times. When you go to create a new course item, whether it's graded or non-graded, you bring up your Harmonize menu. Now, when you click on the thing that you want, so I'm just going to click on discussion, we're going to show a create new button, but we're also going to show this little drop down here, and there's going to be this option that says duplicate existing. And if I select that, what it's going to do is it's going to look through the current course. It's going to list out all the discussions that it knows about for that course. And again, if maybe the naming looks odd to you or you're not exactly sure which one, you can always click on one of these to open it up in a new tab and verify that this is the one that you want. But if I want to make a week 2 and a week 3 and a week 4, I can just click duplicate this discussion. And what will happen in the background is we'll make a new assignment, a new separate harmonized discussion, and then we'll kind of act like course copy happened. We'll take all those settings, we'll apply it in there, but it will be its own separate course. It's not actually doing a course copy. It's just it's looking at all the settings and it's automatically applying it. So you won't have to go through the wizard. If you have a rubric with your thing, it will create its own copy of the rubric and it'll go apply that out to Canvas if you're there. Just hold on to it if you're not using Canvas. But that would allow you to, especially when you start getting into settings that are more complicated, if you've got a really complicated milestone setup or very specific set of instructions for something, you can do that and not have to go and do a bunch of clicking.
Or a rubric that you really like.
Or a rubric that you really like. The other thing that it can do, and this is pretty infrequent, but every once in a while, we'll get people coming in that say, hey, I'm pretty sure I copied from this course to this course, but when I go open my assignment in my new course, it doesn't look right. The settings don't look right, and I'm not exactly sure where it came from. This can also be used to fix that problem. You could go back, you can go back into your assignment if you're in Canvas, or you could delete the assignment if you're not using Canvas. You come back in and say, I know that I want a discussion here. I want to duplicate existing. It's showing my current course by default, but it's also going to list out the other courses that I'm teaching. Right now, these are my active courses. If I need to look at older courses, I can go back to some older courses. I can find which one that I need and say, this is actually the one that I was trying to copy. Go ahead and duplicate that. And again, it's not actually doing course copy. It's just taking the settings and it's duplicating all of them and applying it to this. So one important caveat here is even if you go and you select a discussion or a peer review from another course, you can't later go back to the first thing that we showed and try and update that previous course and have it push all the changes back down. So this isn't meant to like build out a blueprint in reverse. It's just meant to help you with setup inside of a course or fix occasional problems that might come up in the course.
This is important clarification, so I'm going to dwell on this. When we say copy, we mean we're retaining that sort of lineage of where did it come from, because it's assumed that you want to go back and maybe be able to push those changes forward. We're not doing that on purpose for this one, because when you copy from module 1 to module 2, you're going to go change the instructions. And if we then brought you back into module 1 and we're like, push your changes, you would overwrite those instructions and any changes you made as you went through. So this is not meant to be a replacement for course copy. This is really meant to be like, I just want a good starting point. So we're using the word duplicate, trying to drive that home to some degree. We are duplicating it. We are not doing the standard things you expect with copy. I know that's a subtle wordage difference, but hence the difference there. And Andrew and I keep stumbling back in and calling it copy because it feels that way. But just keep in mind, like, we are not doing that push changes down through the child, because that would wipe out all of your changes that you made from just week 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, etc. And then there's a question here. That feature, active versus past courses, how is that determined? What if it was a default course in Canvas and has no term? Go on.
So we don't typically get term information from the LMS. So when we talk about past, we're making our own internal assumption that it's a past course because we haven't seen any activity in it in a while. So Harmonize already has some stuff that basically says like, hey, if we haven't seen students coming into a course for a while, we're going to kind of slow down or turn off some of the syncing that we do, just because it's probably not needed. So that's really what that means. It's not hooked into terms. It's not looking at that. So you may see some stuff in there that you would kind of consider past that maybe it lists normally, but generally that's what we're going off of is our best guess of this course isn't active anymore.
Can you open that UI back up though, Andrew? Because the important part here, Heather, is that that's an actual type ahead, what we call a type ahead dropdown. So it lists some things, but you can just go search for whatever course you're trying to find. And it will go search all of the courses to find them. So we don't have any way, I don't believe anyway, we have any way to just go find your default courses. You would just have to type and be like, I know that default course is called this, because Canvas and their LMSs don't tell us much about your structure and those things. It's just like, yeah, here's a course and and good luck. It's basically all the LMSs tell us. So hence the reason we're trying to keep this drop down, we're trying to serve both the novice user and the advanced user. We're trying not to confuse the novice user, trying to serve the novice user when we can, novice user meaning an instructor who's not been trained in course copy, but also give the folks who are mostly in this room the ability to do what you need to do, and find things. So sometimes you'll see defaults filled like that where we're like, surely one of these courses, because these are the ones you're teaching right now, Mr. Instructor. Um, and so just copy one of these, but there's those type ahead features. There's some expansions to lists and such. Okay, there's a long comment from Linda. I'm going to read just as I go, Andrew, and then I don't even respond to it here. Linda says, I appreciate everything that you're doing to make copying of assignments. That will be much easier. One of the other friction points that we see is when milestones for an unpublished assignment populate to the Canvas calendar and remain there even if the assignment is deleted. She understands why, but don't know if there's anything on your side that can help change it. Andrew, this will be a fun one for you.
I'm going to come off video because I'm all smiles for this one. We actually are actively working on that. So this last release that went out on Saturday, we're able to detect the publish state from Canvas. So if you unpublish an assignment, we will see that either the next time that you launch it or the next time we run a sync, and we'll go in the background and we'll start taking away the course calendar entries if there's any for it, so that we're not reminding students of an unpublished thing. And then we'll also quit notifying people about it. This release that we're working on right now, we're essentially doing the same thing, but for deleted assignments. And that actually works for more than just Canvas. So for the last release was we could detect publish state in Canvas. This next release, we're going to be able to detect deletions from the course on all the LMSs. Again, the LMS doesn't tell us right away when it gets deleted. We find out after the fact because we come back and we do some occasional syncing. And what we found is there is a reliable signal now that we can see that when we try to sync something and we get a certain error code back from the LMS, we can say that thing is probably deleted, and we go ahead and mark it as deleted on our end, clean up the course calendar, quit notifying students about it. And if, for whatever reason, if we end up getting it wrong or if the assignment gets restored, it's no problem. We never truly delete anything. So the next time that someone gets into that assignment, we'll just turn it back on and everything will kind of go back to the way that it was. The calendar will get repopulated, all that jazz. So I'm really excited about this one. We've been talking about this for a long time, but it's only been recently that we found like, hey, we could actually do this without the risk of us getting it wrong, which has kind of held us back before.
And you can really thank Eric and Andrew for a lot of these things that are pain points, because Eric runs support. Andrew occasionally pinch hits in support when things get complicated or when things get really busy. And I can't stress this enough, like reach out to support when there's a complaint, because they then gather all of that data and they're like, look, enough people have complained about this, that this is a legit problem and we need to look really hard and see if we can figure out some way to do this, because we've looked in the past and haven't found it. Eric continues to advocate. That gets more developer time, which then turns around and says, look harder, maybe something new has happened. Can we fix this problem that we could not fix before? So tell your folks to reach out to support if there's anything that frustrates them, even if they think it's not fixable, because that's funny, Linda. You're supposed to love Eric, not me. This is Eric. But anyway, but Eric and Andrew do this. So even if you're frustrated, and I know Chris, for example, is in the chat here, and he's brought a ton of course copy issues to us, and those types of inputs influence this type of stuff. So don't don't feel like you have to be quiet or anything, and don't feel like you're annoying us with complaints. Like, please bring those complaints because that's what helps us do this better. What are we at on time? 45. So we got 15 minutes left. I think, Andrew, you covered everything, right?
Yeah, that's it's really those three items that we're focused on for right now.
Okay. So let's see, the question just came in. I use release dates to control access to discussion forums. Students are able to access future assignments using the calendar feed. I'm just curious to know if this has been addressed. That's a great question. I don't think we get the release dates from Canvas, do we?
Maria, I think I remember your ticket, and this was actually a Blackboard issue. They're letting students in when they're not supposed to using our links. And thank you for the reminder because it fizzled with them. They have not gotten back to me, so it's a good time for me to go and bug them again, see if they can give us an
Actually,
update. Unless you got an update,
actually,
Andrew.
actually,
Yeah.
I think it's not out yet. I think we got the update sometime today on our test server. But I've been getting the occasional ping that they're working on it. Now, take it with a grain of salt because I actually haven't gone in and verified that they fixed it. Just that I've gotten some updates on the ticket that we put in, but fingers crossed that they actually fixed it. And so it would be, we're in June right now, so it would be the July release, if all goes well, that they will have fixed that date issue. This is the one where, like, when admins would go in, that it was not sending the date, correct? Does that sound correct?
This is a different one from
Oh
before,
no.
but it's kind of similar in
Okay.
that students were able to go in using our calendar links and access Blackboard, letting them access things they shouldn't be accessing because it was too early according to the date. But I'm always happy to bug Blackboard support, so I'm going to
Yeah.
go do that right after this, Marie. So thank you for bringing that up.
So a question came in privately that I'm going to bring up here just to clarify. I mentioned something called Harmonize Pages. Um, Harmonize Pages is one of the few things that's not available to everyone. It's part of the accessibility package. It's not a graded thing. It's available as an external tool, ungraded. So if you're in other LMSs, it's fine. If you're in Canvas, you do have to go to a different spot to add ungraded things. You don't first add an assignment. Harmonized Pages was meant and released as part of the accessibility package because it's a place to host video content. Use Harmonize Editor basically to build an LMS page so that you get the accessibility applied to it. So we'll create the audio descriptions, etc. We didn't release that to the standard community because frankly, it was too expensive. Because if we give you pages and you drop lots of video on them, it's extremely costly, and we couldn't afford to do that. So we coupled it with the accessibility package under the assumption that people who wanted to host video could do so, but it would then run the audio description on there, and so we could be cost neutral for that, basically. So if you're seeing all of this now, this is like a new thing. If you're seeing all this now and you're not a Canvas user and you're like, wait, if I could do that for page content, that would be the equivalent of Canvas blueprints, and I want that. Reach out and talk to me because I had packaged it that way because this feature wasn't here, so it wasn't something that anyone even wanted. If there is desire for that, we'll have to figure out how to deal with that and break it apart from the accessibility package or something. Um, uh, so um, so anyway, if you heard Harmonized Pages and you're like, what's that? It's just an LMS page of content that uses our nice editor and does all of the alt text and audio descriptions if you have the accessibility package. If you don't know what that is and don't care, forget I mentioned it. And for the person who messaged privately, I'll reach out to you and make sure you have what you need to find it if a case is not there for some reason. All right, any other questions? Anything you want us to go back and show again because you had an additional thought on? Get those questions in. Like I say, logistically, we will record this. It probably won't go out till Monday, Tuesday-ish. And David said he'd try. but he's going to be on a plane, so I don't expect him to succeed, but he might. So we'll get this out so you can go rewatch it or share it with companions who want to give additional feedback. I really appreciate all the comments that were made to help us improve it. Um, I we obviously will write help guides on all of this. When the release comes out, there will be release notes pointing to all of those as well. There is additionally going to be some LMS configuration changes that you can make that will also make this better. So if you are an LMS admin or you're in the loop of LMS administration stuff, sometime soon, Eric is going to be hitting everybody up for two changes. One is called the PNS service, which I have no idea what that stands for, but it basically makes course copy a little more intelligent from the LMS side. This is Canvas and Brightspace users. So pay attention for that email from Eric because it will let us track that lineage better of this was copied to this, to this, to this, to that, to this, to that, to this, to that, all of those things. We've hooked up to it. But you have to have your LMS administrator turn it on for us to be a little more intelligent of tracking those changes. Eric will be sharing that in the upcoming weeks sometime as we're ready to have it turned on for everyone. The other thing he's going to be asking is that we also are able to make Harmonize a little wider when you're inside the iframe, inside a Canvas. He's going to bundle those together so your LMS admin can do these both at the same time. So just watch out for those emails because he often has to email several times because no one likes to think about LMS administration stuff. So make Eric's life easy. If you see that, maybe nag your LMS admin to do it, or if you are the LMS admin as well, we can make Harmonize a little more space for the students, which will be great. But also we can track course copy changes, and we're having an internal discussion of exactly when we want you to turn that on. As we get closer to release of these features, we haven't quite decided yet what makes sense. We've had 3 different meetings arguing back and forth on it now. So stay tuned and watch out for that email from support, and Eric and his team will be reaching out to you. You guys are awesome. I appreciate the fact that you come to a full hour-long conversation about course copy, and providing feedback and helping us make it better. This is super awesome. So we're going to take your feedback and go rework some mockups over to the team. And when you do start playing with it, also let us know how it works and what feedback can make it better. I mean, I recognize so many of your names that I'm sure you're not shy about providing feedback, but let me continue to encourage you to not be shy as well to be able to get this working for you. So Eric and Andrew, any parting thoughts? Awesome.
No, I think we're good.
Excellent. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate your time and have a good, I guess it's nowhere near the weekend. That was very disappointing when I was getting ready to say is have a good weekend. Have a good Wednesday coming up tomorrow. All right. Thanks, everybody.
All right. Bye.